It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and this is CarEdge Live for Friday, June 6th, with your host, me, Ray, and, well, that handsome young man, Zach. How are you today, Zach?
Happy Friday, Pops. Doing fantastic. The U.S. car market just broke, and it's getting way worse. And honestly, y'all, the latest data we're going to look at scares the hell out of me. Before we do, in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk about our sponsor of today's show, the folks over at Delete Me. Thank you, Delete Me, for your continued support of our channel. Link in the description. And, of course, Dad, CarEdge.com, putting the edge in your car buying process or selling or insurance or research or anything in between. And we're going to spend a little bit of time today, Dad, talking about auto insurance. There's a link in the description below. I need everyone to just be thoughtful about this. Insurance rates are going up. You can get quotes and compare and save back on CarEdge.com. Click on that link in the description, CarEdge.com/save. Go ahead and get a head start there, saving some money. Dad, the damning and scary story this morning for the U.S. auto industry, it's this headline and the chart we're going to look at in just a moment. The number of 18 to 34-year-olds buying new cars just dropped to a new low. The Autopian saying, but don't panic. I am panicking here, Dad. We're going to look at the data in just a second. We have fewer young people choosing to get licenses and fewer young people choosing to buy cars. The U.S. auto industry has been in stagflation for, 40 years? This is a not good moment for the auto industry. We're going to look at the data in a second, but what was your initial take on this?
Thank God for my generation. No, seriously, I I understand everybody likes to take shots at boomers because, well, we think we know everything, and we think every other generation is less thoughtful than we are. So, we're probably wrong on most of that. Okay, but the one thing we apparently are not wrong about is that we have some money, and we're still willing to spend it for automobiles. So if it wasn't for boomers, if it wasn't for my generation, God only knows where the auto industry would be today. And here's the scary part. More of my generation can die before more of that other generation decides that it's time to buy a car.
Look at this, Dad. Let's look at the chart.
It really could have a huge impact on the auto industry moving forward.
Let's look at this chart. Blue line on the screen. Those are your new retail registrations. This data, by the way, comes by way of S&P Global. Okay, so the big conglomerate. New registrations for 18 to 34-year-olds is your blue line. When we go all the way back to Q1 of 2021, 12% of new vehicle registrations were in that cohort. We're in the 18 to 34-year-old age range. That is now down to 9.9%, to your point about boomers.
Yes.
Back in Q1 of 2021, 44.8% of new vehicles that were registered came from that demographic, 55 plus. Now that's up to 48.6%. Those that are 35 to 54, they've gone from 43.2% to 41.5%. So you can see here, Dad, a very clear trend.
Yes.
Auto sales are following affordability. People who have more money, they're buying these cars. People who have less money are not buying these cars. And that is the generation that these automakers have to get excited about their products, because if they don't, they're going to run out of customers. Because last time I checked, to your point, people 55 plus don't live as long as people who are 18 to 34 on average.
Well, the amount of time we have left on average is a hell of a lot less than 18 to 34-year-olds. The other thing this indicates to me is that dealerships should be kissing the butt of every boomer out there. And instead of making it hard for us to spend our money, figure out a way how you can cater to my generation and actually make it easier for them to understand the process, to go through the process, and maybe even, I don't know, save them a little money here or there just to keep them buying cars, because those kids 18 to 34, they're not coming in any great numbers to save you. My generation is the savior of the automobile industry at the moment. And, I hate to break it to you, but your savior shouldn't be 55 years old or older. He or she ain't going to be around all that much longer.
And that is, unfortunately, what this industry has decided to do. And it's pushing more and more would-be shoppers out of the market. Dad, the Autopian continued in their story to also pull in data from the New York Times, which
Yes.
back in 2023 published a piece called The End of Car Culture. And this is from that piece. A study last year found that driving by young people decreased 23% between 2001 and 2009. The millennials don't value cars and car ownership. They value technology. They care about what kinds of devices you own. From 2007 to 2011, the age group most likely to buy a car shifted from the 35 to 44 group to the 55 to 64 group. So this is older data, but it still demonstrates a cultural shift in vehicle ownership. And you and I have referenced on this channel before studies that have shown and data sets that have shown that fewer young people are actually getting their driver's license. So there is some real damning data. Auto's a massive industry. I think it's like 55 million cars are going to get sold this year, new and used. So it's massive. But we are most certainly shrinking the pie of those who are actually in the market to buy a vehicle. And I think that is going to break the car market in the United States even more than it already is.
Well, and the whole concept, that everybody's counting on at the moment. There's Waymo, there's Tesla's going to come out with their robo taxis. We have Uber, we have Lyft, we have all these various rideshare platforms. So the concept that has been implanted in people's minds is you don't need a car. There will be vehicles available to you to get you from point A to point B for a fraction of the cost of what owning a vehicle would be. So if you're 18 to 34, my generation, you think to yourself, I want a car because, well, if I have to go to the doctor, I want to actually be able to take myself. If I need to go, I want to be, but 18 to 34-year-olds are thinking, what do I need a car for? I open my smartphone, I hit my Uber app, I tell them, here, pick me up here. This is where I want to go. They tell me how much it's going to cost. And if I have a really good Uber driver, he'll leave me alone, and he or she will leave me alone and won't talk to me the whole time.
So this is what I think makes this way worse for the US auto industry is it's predicated on vehicle ownership. It's predicated on people buying and leasing and trading in these vehicles. And your new generation of shoppers are subscribing to that theory at a smaller and smaller rate year in and year out. Now, Dad,
yes,
part of that has to do with affordability.
Wait, before you go to whatever, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How old are you?
29.
You'll be 30 next month?
Yes, July 22nd is my birthday, my 30th birthday.
How long has it been since you've owned a car?
I sold my car at the beginning of the pandemic, so 5 years.
Do you have any interest in getting another one?
As long as I live in a city, I have no need. I'm planning a trip to Assateague Island to go camping next month or later this month. I'm gonna rent a car. I mean, it's fine. No.
Yeah. So, and you are part of that generation, 18 to 34-year-olds. You kids are not doing your fair share to keep the auto industry alive as we know it today. Get off your butt and go out there and buy a car, damn it.
Dad, we have to talk about affordability when it comes to this stuff because that is a driving factor for many of these decisions. And have to give a huge shout out and thanks to Bloomberg, Dad. For the first time in CarEdge company history, we were featured in Bloomberg. They had an article today called "Car Makers Use Stealth Price Hikes to Cope with Trump's Tariffs." And if I come here, I'll jump down to the CarEdge section.
Yes.
They had a quote here: "Sales may suffer as a result. A recent survey from CarEdge.com found that 65% of new car buyers would walk away if monthly payments rose just 5% in a market where car prices are already near historic highs." And Edmunds, Dad, just the other day, literally yesterday, released a survey on Thursday, found that 3/4 of car shoppers said tariffs would be a factor in their purchasing decisions. So you've got some really good data here from CarEdge and from Edmunds talking about and demonstrating how prices going up, the threat of prices going up takes more and more people out of the market. Takes a lot of people my age out of the market because we do not have the same earnings or money in the bank as people maybe 55 plus.
Well, that part's true, and we know that between automobile insurance, maintenance, fuel, and the cost of the vehicle, the monthly expenditure for a vehicle is typically well past $1,000 a month. And whether you have money in the bank or not, that's hard. That is a hard pill to swallow for a large segment of the American population. It's just, I mean, it's terrible, actually.
Yeah, it really, really is. Doesn't really matter how much money you got in the bank. It's a
No.
big amount to be setting out every single month. Dad, let's turn our attention to the sponsor of today's show briefly. Let's thank our friends over at Delete Me. Many of you know by now that there are data brokers out there selling your information online, and anyone can buy it. Things like your phone number, social security number, and
all your personal information, your address, your
there it is, home address.
Don't worry, I was going to get to it. They might even get your phone number too. Those.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Are sold online. They're available to marketers, scammers, and
everyone in between. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of people.
I just noticed putting you in solo mode for a second there. Look at that watch and shirt combo, folks. That is.
Yeah, buddy. You know, yellow t-shirt, yellow watch, yellow faced watch. Why not?
You won't have to worry about folks stealing your information with Delete Me. They help you take control over your data. What you're seeing on the screen is actually my personal Delete Me account. Every single month, Delete Me is removing my personal information and my dad's from the interwebs. Delete Me removes your personal data from hundreds of data brokers on your behalf, and you can get started today with a 20% off coupon. Just use the code CarEdge at checkout or click on the link at the top of the description. Join deleteme.com/CarEdge. That link is right there. So, Dad, back to that interesting article from Bloomberg. It really was fascinating. We can see, obviously, there's been an increase in new car prices over the years. Now, tariffs are not the direct cause of this. This was the pandemic that caused new car prices to skyrocket and the subsequent supply chain shortages and things like that. But it is interesting, Auto News and Bloomberg publishing articles at the same time talking about how manufacturers will literally say anything other than tariffs are causing them to increase their prices because they do not want to draw the ire of our current White House, our current administration. But we are seeing new car prices go back up again. And I think that is in conjunction with our broader story about the U.S. car market being broken and young people taking themselves out of the market.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes, at least in my mind, as to how corporations have not only how corporations and others have become afraid to actually speak the truth, and so we couch everything that we say because, well, we just don't want to piss off the White House, and that is. I promise I won't go down this road, but that there's something un-American about that. That's all I'll say. It just everything becomes propaganda and the truth gets lost.
And just to put it into context, so you know why we're going here, even the little bit that we are dipping our toes into it, is you literally have articles like this. Automakers blame price increases on anything but tariffs. An entire article in Automotive News, the industry publication. At the same time, again, that Bloomberg's publishing a piece talking about what was their headline: car makers use stealth price hikes to cope with Trump's tariffs. Like, there's a huge push here to try and make sure that the narrative is not, tariff related, but car prices are going up. New car prices are going up. Mazda was quoted in here talking about they can maybe fund it for a year total before they're really screwed and they have to raise prices significantly. So there's definitely some tension here in the new car market. And again, we see that manifest itself in the article we started with, which is fewer young people, fewer new customers entering the car market.
And whether the price increases are tariff related or not, and in many cases they are, but they're going to be couched as, well, it's newer technology, natural price increase, however you want to put it. That is just going to make it even more unaffordable for more people. And
that's why when we take out, like, who cares why prices are going up? Prices are going up. It just screws this market. It just screws the market.
Yes, I mean, literally, whatever the factors are as to why the prices will go up, we know they will go up. It just, every time there is a price increase, perfect example, Subaru had 33 months in a row of month-over-month gain in sales. from the previous year to this year for 33 months until May, when their sales dropped, I believe it was 10%, something like that.
Yep.
Now, what did they say during the month of May? Oh, we're having price increases across the board for our vehicles. That triggered a tsunami of, well, the prices have gone up. I'm not buying their car. That's why they lost sales last month. So you can already see the impact, and it will only get worse. It is.
And again, I want to just couch what we're saying in. As long as prices go up,
Yes,
it'll get worse. Take out, seriously, everyone with us here, take out the politics of it. Take out the policy of it. You make something more expensive, you just inherently limit the amount of demand you can have in the market. And this has been an intentional strategy pre-pandemic. Even there was a push to increase new car prices. There was a push for higher content vehicles. And I think what we've acknowledged here at CarEdge is that these outside factors have exacerbated that to a degree. And then you look at the data of young people in the market, and that's why they're not in the market.
And it's only going to get worse because there's rare minerals that are needed for magnets and other things for cars and other electronic goods. And most of those rare minerals can be found in China, and they're not shipping as many of them as they had in the past, which is impacting parts manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers, electronics manufacturers. So we could see the potential is there that if we thought things were bad when there was a microchip shortage, and it was because the average number of new cars that were in inventory in any given month during those massive chip shortages was under 1 million new cars that were available on a monthly basis. The average prior to that was somewhere around 3.5 million. We had recently approached around 3 million. We're back down to about 2.5, 2.4 million that are available. If this continues, where Ford had shut production on some of their vehicles for a week, other suppliers are shutting production. So if this continues, this could actually be worse than what the microchip shortage was. So if we thought prices were ridiculous during the pandemic and the microchip shortage, well, wait till the amount of vehicles that are available on a monthly basis drops back down to 1 million, because apparently, even when it isn't a good time to buy, there are people out there that will still buy, and they will buy at any price. And so that's only going to make it worse.
I will say, however, there are so many nuances in today's auto industry. And the reason I bring that up,
Yes,
because you might watch this show, you might tune in once a week, and you might hear a totally different story from one show to the next. But that's because there's nuance. And I pulled this up from Car Dealership Guy over on X. If you're not following me, Shefska, or CarEdge, my CarEdge over on X, you should be. Car Dealership Guy and his team did an analysis. Joe on his team did an analysis of CarEdge market days supply data to add the fastest and slowest selling cars for the month of May. We actually have the update for June here. And the reason I pull this up on the screen is because there's nuance here.
Yes.
Your fastest selling cars in the United States right now are the Subaru WRX, the BMW X6, Lexus RX Hybrid, Lexus NX PHEV, Audi Q5, Toyota Sienna, Lexus ES, BMW X5, Toyota RAV4, and Toyota Corolla Cross. And look at, generally speaking, those average transaction prices are fairly low. And then you come over here and you look at some of these other vehicles, the F-Pace, of course, the Taycan up there, the Audi A8, Genesis G90, and then that GMC Hummer EV. Those prices are through the roof. And so to your point about prices going up, yeah, maybe on some of these more rare vehicles, but on these other vehicles that are boat anchors, that's the nuance of this market. Those prices aren't going up. I mean, they may be going up in MSRP, but the negotiability's through the roof. So there's just so much nuance within today's auto industry. And there has been, I think, for the past 5 years, ever since the pandemic and the global chip shortage. And to your point, we could be on the precipice. And it's not even your speculation. This is industry pundits. These are like the experts, the manufacturing experts saying, this could be worse than the chip shortage. Chip shortage is pretty damn bad, man. Really bad for consumers.
The chip shortage was terrible for consumers because it limited your available selections as to what you could buy. When there was the chip shortage, manufacturers made a decision that with the limited amount of chips that they had available, they were only going to produce their high profit margin vehicles because, well, they couldn't produce as many. So we need to make more per vehicle that we produce. So hence we had 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 pickup trucks and SUVs. And that's where all the chips went. So the affordability crisis started then. Well, if the same thing applies moving forward with these rare earth minerals and materials that are needed, what do you think's going to happen? They're only going to produce their most expensive, highest profit margin vehicles again. So if the little people like me, if the little people, tiny little people, can't afford to buy stuff now, how are they ever going to be able to afford to buy stuff in the future if the only thing that is produced is the highest priced, highest profit margin stuff?
And then go back to our lead story. We have fewer young people. I mean, it's just, you can see
And
how
the
it
young
all.
people don't have, they have what the young people have that my generation doesn't have at this point is they have hopefully an enhanced and expanding income opportunity for the rest of their lives. Boomers like myself, you know, we're living off investments and other things. We're not trying. We're
Yeah,
not
the
out
income
there
potential of a
trying to
young
expand.
person is
Yeah.
bigger or
So,
different. Yeah. But Dad, do you remember?
yeah.
I don't have the data queued and I'm disappointed that I don't. There was some research that showed young people, I think it was
Yeah.
like probably under 34, stretching further. Like their percentage of car payments over $1,000 or something like that was higher than other generations. Like young people do
Well,
get caught up in flex culture. So wanting to spend more for these things, which is another concern. But Dad, you know what I do have data on? What you were just
okay.
discussing, which is the trimflation, the
Yes.
disappearing act of affordable vehicles. Justin on our team, this was back in 2023. So this is what you're saying could potentially happen again. We pulled all that data to
Yeah.
show what was going on with base models for various trucks. In this case, you can see here, you wanted an XL Ford F-150, no can do. Production and volume fell significantly. The Chevy Silverado work truck, that red line, fell significantly. The Ram 1500 Classic, look at that yellow line. Inventory of the Ram 1500 Classic plummeted. So, we saw manufacturers make this intentional decision years ago. Would not be surprised if concerns with these rare earth minerals continue, which, to be clear, coming back to the automotive news article for a second, Dad,
Yes.
data is undeniable. China controls about 65% of global mining and 88% of refining of rare earths, according to a Morgan Stanley analysis on May 27th. For certain metals such as terbium used by the auto industry for magnets and motors, China refines virtually all the global supply. So this isn't EVs, this isn't hybrids. These are magnets and motors, and they control it. And so, this is going to impact the auto industry.
Oh, absolutely it will. There's no way that it can't. And this stuff can end up being held hostage in essence, which is what is beginning to happen. And depending upon how long the hostage situation takes to resolve, will determine how much it impacts automobiles. So there is looking at this and trying to extrapolate from the 18 to 34-year-olds not buying cars and the rare earth minerals. There is nothing that suggests at the moment that it's going to get better anytime soon. So what we saw as a slight downturn in prices last year on new cars, unfortunately, appears as if we're going to see an equal or greater upturn in prices moving forward for a various number of reasons.
Let's come here to the chat, Dad, and then let's switch gears a little bit. Much earlier in the show, thank you for this, Aaron. Very
Thank
kind.
you.
Really appreciate it. Happy Friday, boys, and God bless. Pops. America. Thank you for that, Aaron. Really appreciate it. And then, Dad, we got the Matthew Hoskins special here. Thank you,
Yeah.
Matthew. Ray, what's wrong with these people? A car is like a horse in the Old West. It's freedom. It's going your own way. It's American. What a bunch of duds. I don't know, man. I hop on my little bike. Next thing you know, I'm hopping on the bus. Or I use my sister's car. I don't know. From Matthew here. Seriously, though, we need to make cars cheap again. I think Matthew's onto something. Appreciate the contribution, Matthew. And one more pop.
I mean, it's so true.
Ray, don't be bashful. You're not quite a little person.
Oh, well, okay. So I am 5'6", so I am short. Unfortunately, I'm 200 pounds. So you're right. I'm not little. But, figuratively, I am part of the little people, okay, because I'm not a millionaire or a billionaire. I'm a thousandaire. I remember the days when I was 100aire. But I don't consider myself to be a very wealthy person. And you look at this stuff, and it really says those with wealth will be able to participate, and those without, the vast majority of us, the Marie Antoinette let them eat cake people, will not. And we're just going to have to be satisfied with that, because I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that's the auto industry's take on it, is, you know what, this is your reality and you're going to live with it. Dad, can we switch gears here for a moment? I want to talk about auto insurance today, because we do not spend enough time on this topic, and it is insane what's going on in the industry right now. To set this up, I want to let everyone know we're going to talk about the vehicles that are the most and least expensive to insure. Okay. And I want to make sure everyone is aware of a great free resource we have back on CarEdge.com, which is our car insurance calculator. So before you ever purchase a vehicle, or before you even think about getting a quote, you can go to this free calculator. It's CarEdge.com/insurance, or just Google search car insurance calculator. And it works very simply, Dad. Let's go in here. You recently got a Mazda, right?
Yeah, let's do a Mazda.
What'd you get, the CX-50?
CX-30.
CX-30.
Yeah.
You put in your age.
Well, I'm 65 plus, yes.
And then it will come up here with our estimates based on the latest data for what it will cost you to insure that vehicle. Now, what's great about this?
Yes.
What's great about this is it gets broken down here. Let me close that ad. It gets broken down here based on those ages, but also your credit, because unfortunately your credit goes into your auto insurance rates. So if you're a good driver, if you have a recent at-fault accident, or you have poor credit rating, you can see this estimate here for what your auto insurance rates are going to be. And again, this is a 100% free resource. So please, please, please use this as part of your research process.
I like that. And it's true, because people need to understand everything that goes into their monthly payment for their automobile. It is not just the car payment, the car note. It is more than that. And if you're financing your vehicle, it is mandated by the lending institution that you keep full coverage insurance on it. And if you ever let that lapse, the finance company has the right to go out and get insurance for the vehicle. And I will share one thing with you. When they get insurance for your vehicle, they ain't shopping for the cheapest quote. Okay? They have friends that they do business with. The quote that they use is astronomical, and you're the one that's going to be stuck for that at the end of your loan when you go to pay it off. So you need to understand that it's not just the car note, it's the car note, it's the insurance. If you're a younger driver, your insurance could be $300-400 a month, okay, on top of your car payment. And if the average new car payment today is $748, and if your auto insurance is another $300 a month, you're at $1,050 a month before you started putting gas in it or taking care of any maintenance. It adds up, so you need to know. It's the only way you can be informed when you're trying to make a buying decision, when you factor all those costs together so you can really take a close look at what you actually can afford as opposed to what you think you can afford.
Totally agree, Dad. And one more thing, back on this page, when you use our free car insurance calculator, scroll on down. You get it broken down by every single age here. So you can see every single age, as well as by state. Okay. So we've got
Wow.
all sorts of great information at your fingertips here, as well as where this vehicle ranks, and then all the other information for the Mazda CX-30. So please, y'all, use these resources back on CarEdge.com. And the link on the screen, CarEdge.com/save, is where you can shop and save. Dad, let's come here to
May
our
I say
brand.
one thing? May I say one
Yep.
thing real quick? I found out just before showtime that Mazda is recalling 170,000 vehicles,
They are.
and mine perhaps is one of them. The Mazda dealers were informed yesterday. Customers who are impacted will be informed around July 28th. Don't worry about it. They will tell you. And then eventually I'll be able to go visit my local Mazda dealer and get them to take care of whatever it is they need to take care of. But yeah, lucky for me, and the dealership where I bought it is a Ford Mazda dealership. So they really do get to see all their customers almost on a weekly basis between recalls and everything else.
Let's break down this data, Dad. So the brands that have the cheapest insurance on average, here's how we did our rankings. We based off a 40-year-old good driver with full coverage and good credit that drives around 13,000 miles annually. When you start to break it down like that, Mazda is your cheapest to insure for that criteria nationwide at under $1,500 annually. Mini at about $1,500, Chrysler at about $16,000, Jeep at about $16,000, Fiat, Subaru, Honda, Kia, Buick, Volkswagen. Those are your 10 brands. This page also has all sorts of information about which states have the best insurance rates as well. So please, please, please leverage this information as part of your research process. It is very, very important.
Indeed it is. Absolutely. Yeah. What's next?
Deal of the day?
Okay, I like that. We can talk. And the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, my son doesn't share the deal of the day with me before. Well, we actually see it on the show, so I can't wait.
All right, here we go, folks. I posted this over on X, and I framed it as a buy versus lease, a lease versus finance. What's a better deal in 2025? We've got a breakdown here, Dad, on a brand new 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe. Calligraphy. Let me walk you through this. First things first. Here is the finance deal that the customer got through the CarEdge concierge program. You can see it right here. We've got a $50,350 MSRP, a $3,000 discount, so almost 6% off of MSRP, doc fee of $367, the electronic filing fee, taxes, which are very expensive in the state of New Mexico on an automobile, and an out-the-door price of $52,000. This is with Hyundai currently offering, Dad, 72 months at 3.99% financing. This is a smoking deal on a brand new, low supply, high demand Hyundai Santa Fe.
Yeah, and look at those monthly payments, ladies and gentlemen.
Still pretty doggone high.
They are indeed.
Then, Dad, you've got the lease option. So let's break down the lease option. It's the same exact discount, $1,500 in rebates, $1,500 in dealer discount. The money factor is 0.00223, which comes out to an effective interest rate of about 5.3%, 67% residual value here. With all the fees, with all the taxes, you end up on a 36-month, 36,000-mile lease at $690. Which one are you taking, Dad? You taking the lease or you taking the finance?
Well, the beautiful thing about the lease is that at the end of 36 months, I have no longer have any obligations. So as I used to like to say, as to a customer, at the end of 3 years, would you prefer to have obligations or would you prefer to have options? If you do a lease, you've got options. If you do the buy for 72 months, you're halfway through your obligation. You still got 36 months of obligation left. So for me, the type of driving I do, you know me, I always end up leasing, even though I keep saying, okay, I'm going to buy my next car. I can't ever, I don't seem to get to the point where I can make it work financially, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, Dad. Again, those monthly payments, even on a great finance deal,
Yes.
it's just so much money.
That's even a lot of money to lease it.
It really is even a lot of money
You
to
know,
lease
I think if it were me, I'd be looking at a Mazda CX-30.
it.
A lot smaller, and maybe that's why the payment on the Mazda would be a lot smaller. But yeah,
I'm here with Dan though. 67% residual is pretty damn strong for a
well,
Hyundai.
I would ask my dear friend Space if he could check and see what the buy rate is. I thought the money factor was a tad bit high.
I think the money factor's got to be marked up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess.
That's my guess too. Yeah.
You know,
Because the subvented interest rate on the finance side is 3.99. So you'd imagine that the subvented interest rate on the lease should be kind of comparable. These though, if you go ahead and you read that thread that I posted over on X, the leases are so much more complex, like breaking it all down and understanding it all. Finance deals are so much cleaner, simpler. Obviously, cash deals are the simplest. So if you have questions about these things, this is why we built CarEdge.com. And of course, the community forum, CarEdge.com/community. So if we can help you, go check out the website. Do a Google search, or we've talked about it a few times on the show now. If you use ChatGPT, just type in your question, space CarEdge, and it knows all the CarEdge stuff in there. So all the AI tools know it. Please, please, please make sure that you're asking for CarEdge information when you're doing your searches online, so our info pulls up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pops, that's all I had for today. No phone lines on this Friday. We'll bring the phone lines back maybe next week, but realistically the week after. I am actually headed to an international wedding next week. I will be on the show. I'll be on the show every day of the week, so very excited for that.
Yes.
Maybe the exception will be the actual wedding day. Probably won't be able to do the show.
I don't know. Or you're not the one getting married. I mean, maybe we could broadcast part of the wedding live.
I don't think that's the move.
Well,
so I think
I mean, at the very least, it could help boost ratings.
I'll be here Monday through Thursday. I may have to recruit some help for Friday. Maybe we'll do phone calls. Let's see how strong the internet connection is. That could be pretty fun. But I'm going to an international wedding.
Yes.
Leaving tomorrow. Cannot wait to celebrate with my dear friend and someone that I get to work with here at CarEdge as well. So we'll see. I'm very excited for that, Dad. But we'll be back on Monday. Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it. So on Monday, I will be able to say, hey, it's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and 7 p.m. somewhere in Greece. Is that what you're telling me?
I'll be in Mykonos on Monday. Yes, Dad.
Oh, I can't wait. I've never been to Mykonos. Would you be sure to get some pictures for us?
I'm going to take the camera and stuff. So yeah, we'll have a nice setup.
Okay. Do you think they'll stop you at customs when you're, it's just a microphone.
Fingers crossed there's no issues. Folks, if we can help you with anything, CarEdge.com. Much love, Dad. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weekend. And I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. I love you, handsome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll be back on Monday. See you then.